Do you know what the most viewed Smash Ultimate set of this year is? Sparg0 versus MKLeo. Well, a lot of the most viewed sets have Leo included. So then, the most important rivalry should probably include Leo in it, right? Well, no. Because despite him being probably the most popular player right now, his views are still on the decline. Yes, people still watch him because they like him, but there's no storyline he has driving him to the top anymore. For about 2 years now, Sparg0 and Acola have had a crazy rivalry that has been defining the competitive Smash scene. Yes, there's probably more competitive rivalries in Ultimate like Tweak vs Light, Sparg0 vs Onyx, and Acola vs Mia, but none of them have quite the story of Sparg0 vs Acola. Let me explain. Recently, Japan has solidified itself as the #1 region. I'm sure people in NA would love to fight for that title back, but the game is kind of dying over here. Okay, you can probably argue that the game is in a decent spot right now. Tournaments are still decently big and viewership is still good for a fighting game, but the scene changed after MKLeo lost the spot at #1. It's just not a meta that people are fans of over here. Okay, so recently Japan has solidified itself as the #1 region. How sad. I'm sure people in NA would love to fight for that title back, but the game is kind of dying over here. You can probably argue that the game is in a decent spot right now. Tournaments are still decently big and viewership is still good for a fighting game, but the scene changed after MKLeo lost the spot at #1. It's probably not his fault, but the game just turned to a meta that people aren't really fans of. If you don't know the story, I'll recap. Post-quarantine, Leo stayed at the top for a while, even while using Violet as his main, and people thought he looked unbeatable, but Acola and Sparg0 were on the rise. He managed to hold on to the #1 spot for just a little bit longer, but eventually, Genesis 9 would be the last Super Major or higher tier tournament he's won, and then his results dropped enough for one of the two to take the #1 spot. They both had a crazy first half of 2023, but Acola's results just barely beat out Sparg0. Sparg0 was undefeated versus Acola that year and had more P-tier wins, but Acola was more consistent. So now we get to where we are in August 2024. Kowloon x Kagaribi 12 has just recently happened. If you've been paying attention to the competitive Smash Ultimate this year, here's how it's gone. Acola is still pretty good, but he hasn't attended much. Sonus has been the most consistent player, but he's gotten second at every single tournament this year. Like, literally. I'm not joking. He plays like the best player in the world until Grand Finals. Mia's had some big wins while other low placements. So before ranking comes out, Acola is probably going to be #1 again. Meanwhile, Sparg0 has had a few bad placements. He probably won't be top 5 in this first ranking. I predict him to go at #6 behind Acola, Sonic, Mia, Hertz, and Tweak. So it was about to be a pretty boring year if Acola managed to get #1 again without even playing or beating his bracket demon Sparg0. We all know that beating Sparg0 still matters to him. Like, it's been very apparent throughout their sets in 2023. He lost 7 straight sets to him. That's like the Buzz versus Leo bad. So he's looking for his chance to beat Sparg0, and he wants to do it without Steve, to prove that he can win without that character, because people called him carried. So they're trying Kazuya and Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong! He's decided to stick with Aegis for the most part against Sparg0 in their last few interactions. But he still lost, and then they just didn't play for a long time. Acola didn't attend much. When Acola did attend, Sparg0 just happened to get upset or whatever. So after a year preparing, he actually did it. At Kowloon 12, Acola beat Sparg0 3-1 in losers finals. Like, I'm not going to exaggerate like other people. I watched the set. Sparg0 didn't get completely rolled over. The games were fairly close, and it was still one hit away from going to game 5. But at the same time, both of them played extremely well. You could tell that Acola had prepared a lot for this. According to Twitter stats, 40% of the backers that Sparg0 threw at Acola were either parried or four-sided. That's crazy, and viewers know it. Let me put this into perspective for you. That set got about 140,000 views across both English and Japanese channels it was posted on. High for 2024, but low compared to Ultimate's peak. But it was still one of the most talked about sets. Everyone on Twitter was talking about it. And honestly, this could just be the start. Sparg0 versus Acola at Kagaribi 10 got a combined 600,000 views on YouTube. But like, if you take a look through VGBC's most popular videos, it's not hard to see a common trend of why certain sets are popular. They're usually MKLeo upsets, MKLeo clutches, or maybe just a set that was incredibly fast-paced and close. It's not really consistent anymore though. Just because people have a rivalry doesn't mean the set will get views. Tweak vs Light at Genesis Eds barely got any views. Their rivalry is pretty great. The point is, viewership declined a lot since Smash Ultimate's release. The game is like, it's not dead, but it keeps going down. It could get to the point where it dies. Even MKLeo winning King Kong this year had just a normal amount of views. And it's an MKLeo win. People waited a long time for this. MKLeo's last crazy losers run to win Genesis 9 only had 350,000 views in grand finals. Okay, maybe if Leo just goes back to winning, then Smash Ultimate viewership will be saved and we're all good. But we don't know if that will happen. And I think Sparg0 versus Acola is probably the only rivalry in Ultimate right now that still has a story people can get behind. Their sets, even the non-competitive ones, still pull about 100,000 viewers, which may seem like a little bit, but it is a feat for Smash Ultimate in 2024. There are barely sets that get that many views post Genesis 9, and I checked a lot of them. Not all, because I don't get paid, but a lot of them. If Sparg0 can start being one of the most consistent players again, and Acola can keep up with being competitive with Sparg0, then there's a chance that this could be the story to carry Ultimate through the rest of the season. NA needs to hang on a little longer, because honestly, we don't know when we'll get the next Smash name. And to explain why I don't think that other rivalries can match what Sparg0 and Acola have, let's take a look at some of them. Tweak versus Light. Very competitive, always back and forth, but at the same time, what exactly are they fighting for? And they play cool, interesting characters that people love to see, but sometimes you just see them fighting for like losers for 17, and that's it. They're not fighting for regional rivalries or anything really. Sparg0 versus Sonics. Could say they're the best in the West, but Sonics plays Sonic, and those sets are really long, and even though they get a lot of views, it's probably because those sets are usually in grand finals. I doubt that it's the most interesting thing to watch for viewers. They're even practice partners. If you really want to watch Sparg0 versus Sonic that badly, go to one of their streams. They'll probably play each other like very often. Acola versus Mia. No, this is a pretty good one because they both really want to be number one over each other, at least number one in Japan. Like, I've heard stories of Mia sabotaging Acola by helping Light practice for Steve, because Mia also plays Steve, just so that Acola wouldn't be higher ranked than him. But at the same time, they both live in Japan. You'll see them play like all the time. But that's Japanese rivalry. Japan is a thriving region by itself. Like, they're fine. It's an A that needs something to be excited about, to be hype about. So just because they have a cool rivalry doesn't mean we're gonna be paying attention to it over here. A lot of people don't. And there's no other rivalries. There's MKLeo versus Sparg0. I don't know why, but Sparg0 is like the only top 10 player that still loses to MKLeo consistently. And I don't see much behind it. I feel like their rivalry lasted was interesting because it was built on Sparg0 finally getting his first major win, because he kept getting second and third and fourth place at all these tournaments, and it felt like he was constantly getting crushed by Leo. And then he won a tournament. He won a tournament over Leo too. So I think the rivalry has no interesting narrative behind it anymore. Meanwhile, Sparg0 versus Acola, that is like NA versus Japan at its best. You can't have the US versus Japan narrative because Tweak and Light never traveled to Japan. So it has to be NA versus Japan. And I honestly think that's a better thing, because we kind of need to represent NA as a whole region, because Japan's a little too strong. But US Sparg0 traveled into Japan. He won a P tier in Japan. Not many players have traveled to Japan and like won their biggest tournament. Usually we get cooked in Japan, but Sparg0's won there. He's done in multiple top 8s there. He's one of the only players that still cares about being number one. He's got a lot of drive with him, and Acola is still his rival. Despite all the setbacks that Sparg0's had this year, Acola is still his rival. Like, it's still clear as day. If you want one person to beat Acola, it's Sparg0. And those two are really dedicated grinders that are really fun to watch. So it's really probably the easiest narrative storyline to spin now. I know Smash doesn't really like to do content creation. Like, we have the Luminosity Monopoly and content creation where they just picked up wrist and rise. It's not like a professional esports scene where you'll have a narrative and the producers will just blow through it and everything. But we have Twitter narratives, and that's kind of what we've been running on for like 6 years, 7 years. How long has it been? And I think it does a lot. Like, say whatever you want, it's a Twitter narrative, but it's the best narrative. So these two, I can't confirm that they're the future, but I think they can bring a lot of hype back to the scene that we're missing. And I'm excited and very much hope that these two play at Supernova. But for some reason, the tournament seeders decided it would be a fun idea to not see them to play each other. They put Sparg0 into Mia for quarterfinals, which was kind of stupid. Hopefully Sparg0 wins and then faces Acola in winners finals. I don't know. I'm kind of rooting for Tweak. But like, if Tweak loses early, then I kind of want to see Sparg0 get his run back with Acola, win the tournament over him. So we'll see how it goes. Oh yeah, and if you made it this far, hopefully this video gets more than like 10 views. might as well subscribe to me because I make banger videos, not just on Smash, but I make banger videos and you want to see that. I know you want to see it. Subscribe to me and follow me on Twitch.